and that reporting is going to the investment committee as it stands at the moment.
What date is that, John?
I'm not quite sure exactly when the next investment committee meeting was, but I know Simon has followed up, and Russell's has agreed that they'll do the investigation rather than Scott, as was asked, and we've followed up, and they've confirmed yes, they can do it, and yes, they can do it in time for the investment committee. I just don't know off the top of my head.
I think it's appropriate, given that Scott seems to be an advocate of private equity. So I think it's good that the new fund managers are doing the analysis.
Yep, and they'll come back and confirm that, yes.
So the question I raised, Jono, is it a material risk to the current financial situation of the organisation? If it is, it should be red flagged in both. Because is it a material risk?
It's a material loss that we will have incurred.
Which is a risk.
And yes, it could be added to our risk register for the Audit and Risk Committee, as we do have for many other risks across the organisation. So I agree we can add it to the organisation's risk register. Then there's a discussion, like we've got many other risks on there, but the reporting on it is to the relevant governance body. So yes, I think that's actually a good point that we add it to the risk register.
Yeah. So 1.4 million asset is now valued at 400k. So the downside from here is 400k.
Yeah, I think that just on that though, it depends on what your SIPO says in terms of your material losses as to whether or not, because it's a number and it's a large number. Totally agree. However, whatever your SIPO says in terms of your material losses, if it's, and the rules that I personally have is anything between 5 and 10%, anything over that then comes to something like this. But if it's not, then it really needs to rely on your SIPO.
Kia ora, Chair. I wonder if we take the action to add to our risk register our private equity exposure, so that that's there as a risk, which is what we're highlighting. I'm happy if the members on this committee want me to go back to council and seek further direction as to whether it's the investment committee or the audit and risk committee that is the primary committee investigating the current situation.
So through the chair, it's not really, we've got terms of reference for this committee.
Yes.
And they should be firm process, not going to council saying, what do you think?
Is the loss going to affect the organisation in a strategic sense or in an operational sense?
From looking at our books at the moment, we will be able to absorb the loss, but it's a reasonable loss that we've incurred, but we will be able to absorb it based on our wider portfolio. Yeah, I think it's a good risk for us to include on the risk register. But as my advice was to the workshop at the time, the investment committee is the committee that has the delegation to oversee our our portfolios, and that has the roles and functions to make recommendations to council about our portfolio and whether we should be making changes to our SIPOs or changes to our investment portfolio. Hence, my recommendation was that the investigation and any subsequent recommendations is best fits and being reported through the investment committee.
So there's a difference of view here. This committee was split up actually to give that rigor. Yes, that's what split up. And now we're not applying it. So anyway, I don't want to labour on, but I just felt it should be coming here.
Well, at present, we've got a suggestion that the action is that it goes to the risk register and then it would automatically come onto our schedule at every meeting. So how does that sit with you?
Oh, well, that's appropriate, but there should be some discussion about how we should be handling it and really maybe some direction about the extent of the private equity investments this council has in the SIPO.
Well, as I say, there's another item there that suggests we've got private equity exposure.
So we can discuss it there.
We have significant private equity exposure.
Yeah.
23% of managed funds.
Simon did advise us that we did have some issues with balance of our SIPO.
Yeah.
So procedurally, we add that action.
Happy to add the action to include that as a risk on our risk register. That's what we're just
Yep.
clarifying and seeking confirmation that that's what we're agreeing to.
Yep. And so the risk committee will consider and report
We'll add it on there.
to the audit risk committee.
Couple.
Thank you. All right, you sign? Good. Thank you.
Has been captured.
That's a good start for 5, Joe. Excellent. Sharpen us up.
Okay.
We move then, please, to confirmation of minutes. They have been confirmed, and the recommendation for staff today is that we note to receive and note the minutes. Do we have a mover, please? Thank you, John. A seconder. These are for the minutes of last meeting.
I can't.
Thank you, dear.
Yep.
Put that motion to the floor. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any persons? Aye. Any abstentions I'd like to report? None. Thank you. Okay. Are there any matters arising from those minutes that members would like to have for discussion at this stage? Nothing?
Yeah, item 5.1, page 13, just an audit and risk management activity update. And it goes back, GM Corporate Service confirmed 109K, including GST, to risk pool, 11,000 units in rental. Risk pool was the oldest being April 2016. What does that mean? That's 10 years. Can somebody give me some?
Your eagle eyes are getting us in trouble here.
Okay.
Yes, John, do you have an explanation for that 2016 date, please? Little typo.
Where's the 2016 date, sorry?
Section 5.1.
Page 13, I can't see that.
So just some background. Risk pool was a collective insurance that councils had across the board. It stopped providing insurance, but because we're a member of risk pool, we had ongoing obligations. There are some outstanding claims that still remain that risk pool was providing insurance cover for at the time. Because we're a funding member of being part of that, we've got an ongoing obligation to provide the funding to be able to support those insurance claims that are outstanding.
But so there's one outstanding from 2016.
Without Bruce here, I can't quote the exact when the outstanding, but that's the basic premise of what it is. We were a member of risk pool. Risk pool is wound up, but there are some outstanding insurance claims that we're still liable to support. I was around weather type buildings. Thank you, Simon.
Weather type.
Through the chair, could, according to the minutes and the actions in it, can we assume is a big thing, that all actions are taken care of because we have no rolling action list to identify whether or not they have been passed and completed from those minutes?
They're not all.
I will follow up on that and come back to you. But my assumption also is if there's an outstanding action that hasn't been actioned, that it's on the action sheet.
Sure.
Otherwise, they've been completed as is required. But can we just follow up to confirm that that's the case?
The outstanding actions are listed there. All the other ones seem to be completed. And then we go to the auditor's report on page 14. That's the one that's got the, in the first case, the 340 due internal controls not being complied with. Simon, are you able to enlighten the committee, please? Because I don't understand the last paragraph there where it says there is some exposure to PE and we take the opportunity to exit some of the fund managers.
So yes, we do have 23% exposure to PE. When we reviewed the SIPO, 3 months ago, it was a decision that we would transition and reduce our exposure to private equity. But private equity is very hard to get out of, right? It's not a liquid, that's an attribute of private equity. So as funds come to a close, then we will get our money back. And at that time, we are intending to transition out of private equity into another asset class. But it's not until that time that you can do that, Chair. So it's just an intention that we are going to transition, but we can't do it today. We can only do it when the liquidity comes up. And so that will reduce our exposure to PE when the liquidity comes available to do so. Probably the only liquidity we have is our investment in Zespri shares and that sort of asset class at the moment.
Okay, look, my apologies. I didn't ask for the action sheet to even be received. Could we go there first then, please? Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, I'll move.
Second, John. Thank you. All those in favour of receiving the action sheet?
No.
Thank you. Anybody against? Any abstentions to be recorded? Apologies. Can we go back to Simon?
In summary, Chair, we are intending to reduce our exposure to PE. You can't do it overnight. You can only do it when liquidity becomes available or they close their fund and give us our money back.
Can I ask through the chair, has an analysis been done if you did pull, and I get the liquidity thing, what the material losses would be against us keeping it in there and still being exposed?
Like we crystallise our losses and pull out now.
Not all of them, I'm just saying, have we gone by funds for each fund?
So the review that Russell Investments are performing now, we talked about Federation and review on our exposure to other PE. One criteria of that is liquidity.
Yeah.
And I can ask them, so yes, is it liquid? No, we can't pull it out. Is it possible to pull it out and take a loss? I could ask that question and we can have it by fund manager. Yes, no, and impact.
I think that would be really good for us to understand, because one is to say no because it hasn't come to its due date, or two is to actually say what is our material loss because we've just experienced a loss, and so we could probably just weigh up which ones are the investment committee can weigh up which ones are the best to invest in.
Make the recommendations.
The percentage of exposure can increase if private equity outperforms the other asset classes, obviously. I think that's an extraordinarily high exposure for something that, I understand it's high return, but it's high risk and it's incredibly illiquid. And I think it's an inappropriate asset class for us to be invested in. That's a personal opinion.
Yeah, no, we welcome it. Thank you very much. Consideration.
Through the chair, given that the report from the auditors have highlighted it, I think it would be really good if we had a sort of a action tool from each one of these items from the CEO and the team on what actions they may take to mitigate the items identified in the audit, primarily this exposure to private equity.
Response, yes, please, Jono.
Kia ora, Chair, without turning around and looking at the team, and please feel free, guys, to disagree or come up with a better option, I think at the next Audit and Risk Committee we can have a follow-up to this, similar to what Deanna suggested, with another column off to the right, essentially, that has here's the issue, here's the recommendation from our auditors, and here's the actions that we're taking to address these recommendations, and that we have this as a standing item on the Audit and Risk agenda, and until you guys are satisfied that we've followed through on on the actions.
Yeah. Sure.
So,
Councillor Carr,
this probably wants to be in the confidential, part of the agenda in the future, so we don't create sort of any market ripples. Yeah.
Yeah, Chair, happy to review and make sure that any topics that we've got on there, like Councillor Carr says, if they're of a confidential nature, we'll make sure it's in the confidential section of the agenda.
okay. Record that for an action, Ms. Jane. The addition of column 4, internal responses to the auditor's letter. Any further matters, just working through that report from Deloitte's? The conflict of interest, I'm assuming, Johnny, that will, the use of Integrity Town through staff come through, and we've got the members' requirements to declare their conflicts as the agenda unfolds. Any other items, statement of service performance?
I think just, they must have gone hunting, so they don't work on them not finding too many things.
Yeah, no, that's
I have
awful.
to say,
Scrapping
some of these are quite micro detailed that I think highlights they couldn't find anything material other than the exposure to private equity. So thank you, Jono, and the team for the work that you've done financially. Just highlighting, just the little things like signatures. If they've gone down to that micro detail, that means that they couldn't find anything.
Chair, just to confirm that we got a clean audit. We've got a very complimentary audit, as we have for the last, I don't know how many years, Simon. We've had every year, thank you, every year, of course. And they were very complimentary as well of Simon and the team and the process that we run and the transparent provision of information and those sorts of things. They acknowledged as well, whilst not maybe written in there, but verbally, that yes, they acknowledged that these weren't major things that they were addressing, but yes, they were still highlighting there are still opportunities for improvement, and we'll pick those up and make sure that we address them and make sure they're not highlighted next time around as well. So they've got to find something else. Yeah. So very keen to make sure that we follow up on these actions.
Steve.
Kia ora, Chair. I think in relation to the conflict of interest, it's more the fact that, if you don't follow those procedures, that's what ends up in the paper. So it's being wary of it. They found a case where we didn't follow our policy, and we did some retrospective work to fix the situation. So it's more that you don't do the thing right, then that's what gets you in trouble. So raising it in this forum via the audit report is the best way of doing it. And we've got the actions that the team is going to be taking to avoid that happening in the past. And if we were to ask the internal audit team, is this on your radar to check that we are, dealing with conflicts of interest, be they member or staff or contractors, that, we are following our procedure.
Stuart.
Yeah, for us to actually get a real handle on NRC operation, we get all these piecemeal reports come through and we give them attention. But I'm of the view that if we had Deloitte's actually report on the effectiveness and efficiency of delivering NRC's core statutory responsibilities, that would be one that would get a real handle over the whole organisation. And we haven't done such a report. And I think it would be the most useful report we could get done by Deloitte's. Great reputation, and they know our business inside out. So I'd just like some discussion on that, see if there's a level of support in this committee to recommend that to council.
Sorry, I'm a bit lost. You're asking for another review.
but a review on the positive aspects of all the good things that the regional council does.
Just
In
everything.
terms, on everything, yes. Well, they've done the risk one. And in terms of preparation, I see in the risk management at 16 and 16, the government's proposals for reorganisation of local government, that might be a good building block. The record is fine. Why not exemplify it? As Simon just said, every year, audits. There's a whole range of good things that the council does. It might be something to consider.
So yeah, I think you're on the right lane there, Chair. Because with this restructuring, we've got a bit of time, and if we can determine where we're effective and efficient, otherwise we can actually prepare those business units of council so they're successful at surviving in the restructured Northland situation. So I think it'd be a really great report. I mentioned this at council. I just think, we need an omnibus report. How effective and efficient are we at delivering our core statutory responsibilities? And so we know. And if we've got any alarm bells anywhere, we'll work on them. We've got time to work on them. I think it's a survival thing for this council, apart from a good management thing. I think there's lots of strengths in this organisation. They'll come out in such a report. And if there's any areas of lack of strength, know about it, and you can focus on it.
And we have had discussions as a council in terms of identifying our core functions, haven't we, John? Which is it's quite timely.
One of my thoughts in the paper is that we've actually not put in the largest risk to this council is the impact of the changes. It's not sitting here on this paper. And so it highlights with what you're talking about. I think I would expand it slightly. It's not just looking inside the ship, it's actually looking outside the impact on those that, if I would put it, the benefactors of the service, and that's your ratepayers. Do they realise the impact of loss if you lose this entity to the new formed structures that this government wants to do? Does it impact them in relation to, do they get increased rates from their district councils? And the other thing too for you, Jono, that I can't see in this paper is the material losses. You will lose the amount of people that you're employed here. We're one of the largest employers in the region, and what happens to everybody there. So to me, these are the risks, strategic risks, or the operational strategic risks also. So I agree with your sentiment of a review, but I think it's wider than that. Are we communicating with our ratepayers saying, do you understand what's happening here, what the government's actually saying? What do you think? How does that work? I know everyone's sort of clapping for joy that there's no rate increases at the moment. And I would have thought some of the district councils might have followed suit, but they haven't. And so it tells us that, it's a good opportunity to ask our customer where they position at if they lose this council. So I agree with you, but I think it needs to be slightly wider.
No problems with the width. I think it needs to be clearly identified the roles and responsibilities of this council, how we perform, so that our community see it too. And really the essential, effective and efficient business units want to, if they're such, they want to be praised loudly, and if they're otherwise, we want to work on improving them so that they can be promoted to this combined territories board or whatever shape comes in, as these are units that want to be embraced and looked after, which is the same vein as what you're saying. Yeah.
This is it's an existential matter for the council currently, and we've had some discussions at council whether or not the government's saber rattling. My personal view is that they are, and they want to see how the regional councils will respond. But it is an existential matter for us.
Councillor Blackwell, you've got a bit more to add to this, given the reports in yesterday's papers.
I can read it.
Or it might have been this morning's news. Wayne Brown. And the Rodney.
ADC.
Yeah, we've talked to a few people about that. Anyway, that's I was just thinking about the Northern Transport Alliance, and Deanne brought up a good fact that sometimes a good idea can go well, but governance has got to be improved to run it. But the fact is the intelligence was lost. The historical history of our roads and how they worked and culverts and bits was lost, and that's one of the risks that we've got in front of us today with all our departments.
Excellent point.
Sure, Chair, and just to support the kōrero from Councillor Carr, we've had, I'm not sure how many workshops now, but we've had a couple of workshops with council around needing to review our what do we call them? Our unique business units that regional council delivers, to make sure that, as Councillor Carr and others have articulated, as we look at whatever a new model for local government looks like, that our regional council specific functions, that we're delivering them as efficiently, effectively, and that we're prioritising the resource and capacity where our community wants them to be delivering those outcomes on the ground. At the last council workshop, council confirmed which parts of the business, those business units, that they'd like to delve into, and they agreed a reporting framework, which staff are working on as we speak, to bring back that through March back to council around, and it's starting with biosecurity. This is the activities that we deliver. This is how we're delivering it. This is how much capacity and resource where we have allocated to each of those different parts, and this is what the deliverable or the outcome is. There was also discussion, which is to Councillor Carr's point, around efficiency and effectiveness, because that there basically just gives you a snapshot of what we're delivering and how we're delivering it. It doesn't necessarily provide you a framework to assess efficiency and effectiveness. Whilst it wasn't 100%, we didn't get 100% clear direction from the workshop, we have gone and approached Deloitte's to go, if council wished to do an efficiency and effectiveness type review across our key business units or unique business units, would you be available and what would it cost? So that we can come back and workshop with council of, once you've actually had this snapshot of data, because essentially that data you would then provide to Deloitte, as in it's a really good package that shows what the services are that we deliver and how we deliver it, that then Deloitte would be able to look at and come up with a framework to independent look at efficiency and effectiveness. So that will be something that we'll bring back to council in early March around, is this something that council wishes to go down? And I know, for example, the council, I think they did one last year. I think theirs cost about $100,000 to do their efficiency and effectiveness review. So part of it would be to go, what's your methodology and how much would it cost the council? But at a general level, I support the kōrero from Councillor Carr around, we need to make sure that we have our business units that are fit for purpose, delivered efficiently and effectively in a state that we're confident that they can be lifted and shifted into whatever the new structure looks like. So very supportive of that.
Go for the first piece, been waiting very patiently.
Thank you. Two things. It wasn't that long ago that I joined quite a high-profile organisation and became the chair. In looking at our finances through the Audit and Risk Committee, we quickly, some of us saw that something was awry. We took it to the board. An independent review was then conducted of our systems, processes, finances, and it was done by Deloitte, we commissioned an independent review or forensic review, of which Deloitte came back and said, well, no, there's nothing wrong. And we said, well, doesn't look like that to us. So we conducted a second opinion by another reputable firm, and they came back and said $1.1 million has been siphoned off into a personal account. the auditor hadn't picked it up. My point is that nothing is foolproof. And even after doing a forensic review, they could not pick up a really sophisticated system of siphoning money out of the organisation. So I reflect on that example when we're looking at the Northland Regional Council. And I'm not casting aspersions on anyone, by the way. So that's the first point. The second point is Jono has partially answered my question about reviews. I welcome reviews as long as they are focused and integrated into the other reviews and audits that we have carried out, because we don't want to be spending money, energy and time on reviewing something that has little relevance to the integrated approach. Thank you.
Councillor Carr.
Yeah, just my summary comment is what I've discussed at this committee is, because this is a committee, we've got 3 independent people with expertise in this area on, and it's a good place to discuss with you erudite members. When council makes a decision, we're doing it on a basis of our life experiences rather than professional expertise. So, you know, this is a good place for this discussion.
Yes, let's go to Councillor Kitchen first. And then
Yeah, I've just got one other thing with this auditor's report, and I go back to when they're reporting completeness and currency of published community response plan, civil offence, and I think they nitpicked. Like it was, yeah, they said, oh, you need to put the phone number of the APARA fire station there. Well, no, you put the phone number there because they volunteered and they're never there. Only there when there's a call. And then another one, a phone number of the police station in APARA. Well, it's not a police station in APARA. It's stupid little, you know, it's nitpicking as far as I'm concerned. Load of rubbish. Carry on. Thank you.
I think through you, the chair, Matua Pita has raised a good point. Are we reviewing for, you know, the risk is you run a review and you can end up with a witch hunt. The witch hunt then exposes a whole myriad of things. If we reflect on the paper that's coming up tomorrow, it talks about a procurement. I think we're using a language like get Deloitte's. Well, we can't do that because Deloitte's are our auditor, and it wouldn't be fair that they, on a procurement, we also are a reviewer. So it depends on what type of review you're expecting, and then your procurement of that is critical according to your procurement policy that's in tomorrow's paper. Thank you, because it's a great paper. That you look to find the best people to do what you expect them to do. Is it a review to say that we're tickety-boo? Because if we are, sorry, not technical language, but anyway, if we are saying that, then we've just had that. We've just had a tick box financial review, which looks at the whole organisation, systems and policies. If it's a review to say we are a great unit and we should be kept because we're a great, efficient unit, then we need to find the right provider, if I put it in that word, to be able to do that. Whilst the big 4, Deloitte's, PwC and all of those are really great units and do what they need to do, are they the best for what we want us to do? And just consider that, because the big 4 units do cost a lot of money. They're not cheap, and we have local units that could do that. And so look at who is locally that you might want to procure to do this type of work, to say that we're the best thing. They're only big names because they're international. I would just think for the councillors to consider when they're thinking about reviews, the purpose, the outcome, and then who is being procured.
Right. Can we get Jono first, please? Then Jen, for sure. Joe first. You reply first, then Joe.
Yeah. What we're trying to do is not trying to do a forensic thing. What we want to do is prepare this council so that we actually make changes necessary to be able to present our business units as very efficient and very effective and meeting our core responsibilities, right? So that the Combined Territories Board or whatever the structure is in the future says that these are core responsibilities that have been efficiently and effectively met regionally by the Northern Regional Council. And they can see them as business units that should be surviving in that form into the future. And if we want to just sit around and wait for the tsunami to come to us, and someone else will come in and do an evaluation of us, and they mightn't be very charitable. Who knows? I think it's irresponsible. So I want to see something responsible happen, so that we because I actually think we've got some very, very strong attributes in this council. Yeah, I'm not coming from trying to pull it to bits, but I'm still not trying to see a report, a whitewash report. It actually wants to be a fair, even-handed report, so we know where to improve, and also where we should recognise excellence that exists.
Jono?
Just agreeing with what Councillor Carr's just said as well. Couple of points maybe. One is to suggest to the committee that we could have an action of reporting progress back to the Audit and Risk Committee as we go through this review with full council, so that the Audit and Risk Committee is receiving I don't think you want all of the information that we're taking to council, because there's a lot of it, but so that we're reporting what we're doing, how we're doing, and progress and outcome. But also a question for the committee, picking up on someone's comment around the independent expertise that we've got around the table, and whether there's a recommendation from this committee to council that the independent experts that we've got sitting around here joins council for those workshops on looking at our core business units, and whether we're delivering them efficiently and effectively or not. Just a suggestion that came to mind, whether the committee wanted to provide that recommendation to council.
I'm happy to move in that direction if there's very support for that. I think it's great.
Well,
Lots.
so if we go that way,
No, lots. You need
we can't get into tomorrow's papers. It goes into next month. And then council comes back to us as an Audit and Risk Committee 2 months after that.
Kia ora, Chair.
Is there a faster methodology?
Yeah, there'll be a methodology where we workshop it with council, because they're not formal council meetings that we're doing. We're doing workshops with council, with the chair, looking at our different business units. If there was a recommendation coming from this committee, I would go back to council and ask council whether they agreed with the recommendation or not. If they did, then it would simply be inviting the 3 independent members to those council workshops when you're looking at those business units. Deanne just had a kōrero in my ear of, are there lots of meetings, Jono? Yes, there will be quite a busy workload. We're looking at all of our business units, and it may well be that you want to split it amongst yourselves, for example, so you all don't have to be at all of them, if that's what you wanted to do, to try and spread it, because realise that you're busy outside of your roles here for council as well. But just an option, I thought, when I heard the kōrero around the table.
Maybe I thought, Jono, that thank you for inviting the independent. Appreciate the honour of that. Is that the councillors do their review, and that the independents do a review. We hear about you going to every workshop is quite a lengthy thing, and I'll say that is that we review your documentation that comes out of the workshop alongside management, and make our clear recommendations back to councillors, because I think, depending on what your framework is on reviewing, because I don't actually understand what the framework is, so I can't make an opinion. I don't want to come to a hui without a framework to say this is how we've reviewed it, this is what the result is, and whether or not Jono's done that with his team, then that gives me a clear view of actually this one's a 9 and we should keep it, or this one's a 3 and actually not core business, we should let that slide. But I think that type of work needs to be given before I put my hand up and say I agree to come to every workshop, because I'd rather be there to make really cool critical decisions or recommendations, as opposed to sitting in a hui around. It's just my opinion.
Not just your opinion, mate, our nightmare.
Yeah, right.
My suggestion maybe then is that that your recommendation to council is that you're included on the circulation of the material,
Yes.
so that you can read it and come along for the journey. That then will provide more context for when we have the items on the audit and risk committee agenda. Like you're not getting it cold, you've seen the process. And also just to note that what we're doing at the moment with council is not an assessment of efficiency and effectiveness.
Okay.
What council has asked us to do at the moment is to present those business units and what it is that we're doing, so that they've got what are we delivering, what are our KPIs, how much budget and personnel are we allocating to it, so that we can show clearly this is what our work program is. Mm-hmm. There's another discussion with council about an efficiency and effectiveness review, which is what Councillor Carr's talking about, which is something that if we want to do it independently, we need to. So we have approached Deloitte. I don't know the outcome of that yet, but we've approached Deloitte, and that's not to say that we're going to go with Deloitte, but that's more to be able to go back to council and give them an indication of, if this is what you want to do, this is the ballpark of what cost might look like and what a process and time might look like, so that council can provide some more direction to us around, yep, we want to go for that, Jono, or we want to do a more targeted one. We haven't confirmed that part of it yet. That will be a March discussion with council. But generally speaking, just if I can finish off, is I also agree with Councillor Carr. It's not about defending what we do and saying that we're doing a great job. It should be a genuine looking at our services, making sure that we're efficient and effective in delivering it, and that it is aligned with our statutory functions.
Sure. So, Chair, possibly we might have to call Audit Risk Committee, might have to be a bit more frequent while there's a bit of business going on. Might have to call an earlier meeting and as it develops. Because a game, well, it's not a game, but what we're doing in Northland is, if we take the initiative, we can control the fall, and if we just want to sit back and accept from a default position, we might get a structure in Northland that really isn't good for Northland. So there's a lot of benefits and being sure-footed and everything. And I think that's what Mayoral Forum's position is too. Yeah.
Okay. Is anybody able to form a clear resolution out of that discussion?
I think CEO's
All I'm getting is that we should receive the workshop material, assess it, place it before a possibly sooner Audit and Risk Committee meeting if necessary, and then make a recommendation back to the council.
That would be informed, the information be informed by the review we're discussing, effectiveness and efficiency review we're discussing with Deloitte at the moment. I don't know how you quite fit that in there, but that's fundamental. You need something to
But they're already
frame your
I guess my hand just went up to make sure that we've got an efficient process here, and that I don't have myself and staff reporting to Audit and Risk, reporting to council workshop also, so that we're, the irony of it, that we're efficient and effective in what we're trying to do here as well. Hence, trying to include the other, because all of the councillors here will be participating in it. The only ones are the independent members. If we include the independent members on the circulation of the material, including the direction of where we're going, and if we have the action of making sure there's a check-in with the independent advisors and an opportunity for you to provide input to council. And I don't know exactly the mechanism yet because we haven't started into it, but if that's there as an action to make sure there's an opportunity for the independent advisors to provide input into the process council's doing, then I think that is sufficient at the moment until we sort of see a little bit more of how it shapes up. I'm just trying to avoid having to call another audit and risk committee meeting and a formal one unnecessarily, given that situation.
Kia horo te ata haere. I'm right into the urgency on this one. That's the kia horo part. Ata haere, as I've said before, is a great deal of diligence must be applied at the same time. So, that's, and I don't want things to be ponderous. So we can cut through knowing that the work falls on largely the people sitting behind us, keeping that in mind. And I'm satisfied, whatever the words are on the motion, I'll be supporting it because my words were, I embrace reviews as long as they are carefully integrated into what we've already got going, and the CEO has answered that question for me. Thank you.
Just to add, through the chair, some of the questions that I've thought of, since it's sort of the bigger risk, is not around the efficiency of the units that operate. It's more the question of what is our core business. And when I think around the fund management and the asset management that we have, is that our core business? So when we're doing this review of efficiency and effectiveness, is that being discussed? Because I think that's a really important discussion to have. It does materially impact your budgets, Jono, but those are the two areas that in this audit risk, I think it's important to understand that is that your core business, and should it sit here when you're thinking about what the new modelling looks like, and where should it sit moving forward? Because it is, if you look at the example that this government wants to achieve, like in Auckland, they've lost all control of asset, and well, not lost all control. They've actually just morphed everything into one, and it's impacted on the user at the end of the day, gone from places where they were not paying fees to go into public spaces to paying fees into public spaces, rate increases across the board. And so you've got to really, for me, those two things I thought was a question in the review. We need to think about, Jono, the fund management and the asset management. Where will that sit in this discussion moving forward?
Okay, look, what I'm interested in is moving this to general business, moving through the rest of our reports, because that'll actually inform the efficiency, effectiveness, and the scope of questions as we get better informed. John,
just to kind of provide a suggested action to be recorded, that the 3 independent audit and risk members are included in council's review of its unique regional council activities, including circulation of review material and subsequent assessment, and that summary reporting is provided to formal audit and risk committee meetings. So that captures the circulatable material to you and any subsequent assessment part of it. It doesn't delve into the detail yet because we haven't figured it out as to how. And it also means that there's a standing item on the Audit and Risk Committee around what we're doing for the review process, so that Audit and Risk is able to apply its mind to the process we're going through as well.
Yes. It's the biggest risk this council faced, essentially, isn't it?
I'm going to ask for Jane to record that and us to consider that in general business, but it does capture the essence of this. I just think there might be something more as we go through the rest of the reports before we finalise that position. There's no GB.
So you'd like to leave that on the table so we can add to it if we want to refine it. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Leave it on the table, then let's move on, get the other reports through. Yeah, it's making it a bit more crystalline, possibly. That's a good suggestion. Thank you, John. I think it's pretty close to where we need to be. Okay. Jane informs me we need to move and second that the suggested action from the CEO lay on the table for the morning. Okay. Do we have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Blackwell. And Councillor Kitchen, seconded. All those in favour?
No.
And all those against? Any abstentions to be recorded, please? No. So, we move then to item 6, the amendments to the delegation manual. Carol.
Chair, I think I'm going to ask Kyla as the reporting officer to provide a summary of this.
Thank you, Carl.
Kia ora. So the amendment to the delegation manual focus on the reprioritisation of expenditure. The new process is attached to the item. It aims to provide greater clarity and transparency and bring the reporting limits in line with current values. And yeah, I guess that's probably where I can leave it, and happy to take any questions.
Yeah, well, the first thing is we next move to receive the amendments. The mover, thank you, Councillor Blackwell, to receive. And a seconder.
Seconder.
Thank you, Deanne. That's just recommendation 1. All those in favour? All those against? Motion is carried. Right, yeah, we'll talk in further detail to report then.
Yep. So there's a process that shows the reprioritisation of expenditure, provides greater clarity and transparency. It also serves to ensure that budgetary movements do not inadvertently result in money collected from specific rates being spent in areas that they're not rated for. It's a general improvement, and it is the first cab off the rank in a series of improvements to the delegations manual that will be carried out over time.
Any questions about the contents of the report then? Carl's just explained it. Yes, Joe.
Yeah. What we don't have is sort of a cap, because we've got all these quite considerable quantums involved, but they could accumulate. Numerous of them could occur, and it could be a significant figure in toto. And there's no sort of cap that I could see in the report on this matter, and it could turn into quite a substantial proportion of the council budget.
This is mostly refers to unbudgeted expenditure.
I realise that, but when you add them up, 100k, 250k, and this repeats itself 5 or 6 times, there's it's not like there'll be 100k cap, and then over the financial year, or 250k cap over the financial year. These could, as I read it, be cumulative.
Perhaps as shown on the first layer of the diagram, it is movements between the same sub-activity and the same rate source. So it's very much delivering on the same purpose, but having to move things around to respond to real-time changes. I can completely appreciate where you're coming from. And then further down, the amount of non-rated expenditure in itself becomes a cap, because we don't have a bottomless amount of money there that we can transfer that is non-rated income. It is something that we could look to add if there was a level that you were comfortable with for greater reporting. I mean, what I'm hearing is that the issue is with the transparency around smaller amounts.
So that, Chair, I defer to the experts on the committee.
My question is, have we reviewed the last, a recommendation could be through the chair, is the review past years and for you to make a recommendation back to us based on what the sort of average level was, so to create a cap on it, as opposed to us making some suggestions, because we're working in relatively up and down unknowns sometimes. So that's just a thought of response. Steve, do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I think that we've been well served in that area up to date. We all know that if there's a change, then Jono brings it to us. So I don't have any issues with what's been presented. I think that it provides a bit more clarity, which is what management wants from us. And given the current management, I don't have a problem with it at all.
Kia ora, Chair. For me, that this is about being able to run our business efficiently and effectively, and things do arise that we need to respond to quickly. However, just listening to the corridor and wanting to make sure that there's a good level of governance transparency in the process as well. Very happy to change, so at the moment, and there it proposes over 250k CEO approval and reporting to council. If you change that to over 100k CEO approval and reporting to council, I've got no problem with that either. As in, it reduces the threshold down from 250k to 100k and make sure that governance has that transparency. So we would report it in the monthly financial report. If I've approved any unbudgeted expenditure, it provides for that efficient and effective running of the organisation, but also provides that transparency for governance and Joe for governance to ask question as to Jono, what was that? Why did you approve it? And it's got that monthly reporting there for governance and for the audit and risk committee when you see the financial report also.
Sounds cool.
I think just on that, I would be quite nervous for us to change Jono's delegated authority. We fleshed it out quite severely last year to ensure, and you as councillors approved his delegated authority about volume. So I think we should just leave it as it is.
As it is in here?
Yeah, as it is in there. Because if you keep on going up and down, Jono doesn't know whether he's approving 100 this year or 250 this year. I mean, it's up to the chair as well and as councillors to look at all the numbers on a monthly basis and check with Jono pre-council meetings if they have questions, or at council meetings. Sorry, I just would be nervous to keep on changing DFAs year on year of financial authorities.
Any other comments?
Just to be clear, I'm comfortable either way. All my suggestion was there was my reporting to council on it. It still provides me with delegated authority to be able to allocate funds as required by the organisation to effectively respond to what happens in the moment. I'm happy either way where that threshold is on what we report to council. Whether it's what's recommended here is 250 is the threshold to report it to council. I don't mind what the threshold is within reason, as long as it's not down to $5.
It's not affecting your delegation.
No, it's just what reporting will provide to council, whether it's 100 or 250. 250 is what we thought, given the increase in cost of things, was an appropriate threshold.
I've got to say my concern was around the reprioritisation of current budgets. And I have no problem with the thresholds. I was just pleased to see that the process from the different funding streams was addressed. Other than that, I'm fine with the papers presented.
Okay.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Close that. Okay, recommendation 2 then, please, that the Audit and Risk Committee recommended council inclusion of the proposed unbudgeted expenditure process as presented. Do we have a mover, please?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Deanne. Koutou, second. Thank you, John. All those in favour? Any persons against? Oh, I thought you put your hand up, Steve. No, it's just your glasses. Well, you would have won the auction if there was a standing house, mate. Any abstentions? No, carried. Thank you. Okay. Mandy, you're up next. We move then to the next section, which is the internal audit maturity update, please. Was that you, Carol? Oh, still Kyla. Gosh. Oh, excuse me, should read the paper. Thank you then. Kyla. Killer. Very nice.
To introduce the report.
Yes, please.
So this is a report back. This is quite a long-term project on a internal audit maturity review. There was one carried out in 2022 that placed us at a 2 out of 5. Last year we had a review done after a number of improvements, and we are now placed at a 3.3 out of 5. And I'll just note there that when Deloitte's provided the feedback on this review, they really stressed that the goalposts had moved during that period of time that those improvements were made. And so our 3.3 out of 5 was really quite good for the size of our organisation.
Okay, then we move into the recommendation, internal audit maturity update be received. Move it, please. Joe, and a second.
In Kitchen.
Thank you, Kitchen. All right, lost 15. All that sort of stuff. All those in favour?
Aye.
And anything against? Abstentions recorded? None. Carried. The motion is carried. Thank you. Move then to the report, please, Kyla. Yes, John.
I have nothing further to add to it. The report from Deloitte is attached. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I think it reflects a really great piece of work that the staff have put in.
Now, the report is taken as read. Any questions or comments to be received? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Just to acknowledge Kyla and the team and what they've done here. Like, this has been a lot of work for them to try and improve and increase our maturity of our internal auditing capacity and capability, and the rigor and robustness of what we do here. So, yeah, just wanted to take the opportunity while everyone's here just to acknowledge the work that Kyla and her team have led for us.
Did I see a question somewhere in the Deloitte's report that related to the schedule for the internal audit process, and which sections were prioritised?
There was comment in their report around relating it back to risk. That might have been what you saw, and improving. Well, I mean, we've always reported it to the Audit and Risk Committee, but improving oversight at ELT and group manager level. So there was some comment in that space, which has been improved and will continue to be improved through the development of our new tool that is now we're using to manage our risks, and we are able to start tying that into our internal audit program more clearly through that tool.
Yes.
Yeah, with Northland being the top region, and after reading this report and reading the Deloitte's next steps suggested continuous improvement roadmap for the following 1 to 5 years, I may have missed it, but it's almost as though the words here are suggesting that 3.3 is good and therefore we're fine. Is that true?
Yes, I think the sense I got was if we were a much larger organisation, you could put more resource into these internal audits. But for the size and scale, the work that's being done, I think the 3.3 is a really good, relative to other corporates, outcome.
Yeah, I'm not satisfied with that myself, where it says where 5 is considered leading practice. And I can hear you and I can see what the report is saying, but I'm not one to remain comfortable on 3.3.
enough, but I'm, end up limited knowledge in this space. So when it comes to, and frankly, I think the point a bit earlier about Deloitte's failure to detect something that others did too. And I'm lack sufficient knowledge to critically appraise Deloitte's work. But when I look at some of the other bigger companies around the world who have got turnovers in the billions, then surely what we're able to put up next to them, and then the one I've had the most experience is KPMG in Singapore, they can throw dozens of people at problems. We can't. We don't have that resource available to us. So when I looked at the sequence of the internal audit, I thought, again, limited knowledge, that looks to be a logical, sensible way to bring in new councillors and build up the internal processes. So I don't really have any ability to quantify 3.3 and what it might be beyond that.
Yeah. Look, the auditor side and how we're measuring is one thing, but if we're aspiring to that 3.3 is good, well, it's not good for me.
Let's go, Toss, Jono, and then Steve.
Okay, looking at that chart, and I'll go back to 2022. Purpose, we were sitting at a 0.4 or something. We're up to 3. Position, early 2s up to 3. People 1. So we are on the move. We are progressing. And I understand what Peter is saying, but as our staff are working away at it, and if they're going by what we've done over the last year or so, or 3 years, I believe that our next target will be the 4.5. So we are moving in a positive direction. Kia ora.
Hello?
Kia ora, Chair. Look, I totally get you don't want to go for a 3 when the scale's out of 5. Like that's. I totally get what the chair is saying. It's kind of unfortunate, I guess, that they've got one scale for all sizes of organisation. Like it's a one size fits all kind of assessment thing here, and it's maybe some feedback that we can provide to them around. If you're assessing NRC and our auditing against some of those other businesses that you described, Chair, then you're kind of not comparing apples with apples, I guess. But look, if our audit committee wants us to do more in this space, we can definitely do more in this space. And it's a matter for us to come back and say what capacity and resourcing would we need to be able to continue to up our game in that space. Because, I've got a certain number of resource and capacity allocated to making sure that we run a good internal audit system here. So very happy if the committee would like us to come back with some further options around how we can go from 3.3 up into the 4, and what capacity we might need and what the program might look like that we think would get us there. Equally, I think it would be worth us going back to those providing the assessment to sort of highlight that if you're an organisation aspiring for excellence and you've got a scale that only those with a massive budget can hit number 5, then it's not a scale or an assessment criteria that's overly useful for us when we're aspiring to be the best we can be in everything we do. So I guess just a question for everyone. We can come back with some what a program would look like to get us to the next level, but also what resource would take us to get there.
Chair, can I? Steve, please. Steve.
Kia ora, Chair. Yeah, I think when you look at the report, it's 3.3 is good, but Kyla in the opening address was talking about what we need to do to carry on to maintain that 3.3, because there's also a significant risk in sliding back. A lot has happened in our world over that first assessment to date. So we've still got to keep on track of future events. So, if we want to get to a 5, we'd have more people in the office than out doing the field work. So there is a balance. But 3.3, yeah, it's good. But we've got to try and maintain that. And we are, from what Kyla said, we've got a system in place now that allows us to maintain and improve it. So, yeah, I wouldn't be all out for let's try and go for the 5, because that's just impossible. But to maintain our pace and where possible, make incremental improvements. Thank you, Chair.
My very brief assessment is that the scale's a bit clumsy, and it covers all entities, whereas I think if we would rank ourselves alongside commensurate entities, I think then we'd probably come out pretty well. I do note that the lowest ranking, I see the 5 Ps, which must have taken them some time to figure out. But the people is the one scale we're a little bit behind, and I note the consideration, which is not a recommendation, to identify key auditors to join the Institute of Internal Auditors. What sort of cost would that incur? Got any idea? But if that could push up the people scale potentially.
Yes. Just while you get in there, you have an answer?
Well, it was a little while ago that we looked into it, but we think it was a couple of $1,000s.
Per person?
Yeah.
And that'll raise the people profile and some improvement in the section there. Cool. Koutou?
Last lash of this one, Mr. Chairman. I may not have successfully outlined my thinking on this. I'm talking about aspiration.
Yep.
I had said the Deloitte's report aside and the scale of up to 5, put that aside. It's what we aspire to. And an example would be high performance sports teams or individuals who may not have won the gold medal or even won the game, but they come off and they say, we, as far as our own performance is concerned, we did our very best. And I'm sure that's happening. But if we're saying in the report that 3.3 is about where we need to be, not good enough.
Did you hear Hamish Kerr this morning?
I saw the images, but didn't hear that.
I know it's on the radio.
Oh.
What drives him? He just wants to jump higher. No awards, no medals. No, he just wants to jump higher. Just kept it very simple. Boss.
Oh, yeah, I was just observation here. It would be great if we could see other kindred organisations, how they fare them out, like other regional councils and whatever, whether that data is available or not. Yeah, that's it.
So we've got the recognition from Councillor Hunt. Thank you, John. Around the people and process space there, that looks like those are the most likely avenues for increased pay. And so the chair's aspiration for us to improve beyond 3.3 is noted. Any further discussion on the item?
I want to say, historically, it's been noted that we have improved to the chair, that the work that's been done with Jono's team and the direction from the councillors and audit risk has actually given recommendation to change how things are happening inside Jono. So I agree through the chair that we should look for our own measure. I actually don't rate these measures, to be quite frank, because these are only measures that someone thought up in Deloitte's and or across the country that does not reflect on all the other work that you, the team, do really well. There are measures that they think fit. If you look at people measure, and I'm not talking about the internal audits, I'm talking about people measure, Jono, it reflects in the culture that you've created, but it's not reflective in here. So I'm not fazed by this rating. Congratulations, we've gone up 1.3 from last year. But I agree with our chair about potentially, as an audit risk, do we look at setting some pace on a framework and workshop that? Because I'd be interested in workshopping that for us to decide on what we think a good measure for Jono and his team are, as opposed to what Deloitte thinks and internationals think. That's just my thoughts.
Okay, it's 11:20. We've got a fair bit of work to get through yet. I'm asking that be the closing comment. Congratulations to the team. Move then, please, to the financial report for January 2026. Carol?
Thank you, Chair. As you can see, the summary is there to Simon and his team. Provide an update.
Need to move its receiving first, please, Simon. Okay, then the first recommendation on the paper is that the financial report be received. Move it, Mr. Carr. Second, Councillor Hunt. Thank you. All those in favour?
Bye.
All those against? Any abstentions to be recorded? None. Let's turn our attention into Simon, please, who will entertain us for the next few minutes.
Do you mind my chair that I don't speak?
Yeah, come right up. As always, excellent building.
So what the report here is, this is just a standard council financial report that will go to council tomorrow. Before we dig into the detail, I've got two sort of high level observations. So at the moment, we're sitting at a $1.2 million favourable variance, so we're better than budget. And 1 million of that is due to savings and salaries. So we're just starting to see a little bit of separation between our salary savings and our overall council favourable variance, right? It's only 200,000, I know, and it's not a red light, not even an orange light, but the messaging is that February, March, April, we've got to stay on track with our budgets, our spend, our budgeted commitments. We've got to be on target. We have management meetings with the GMs and the CE when Bruce gets back in early March, which will be pushing that message as well. But we don't want to get to the situation in, May, June, where we're chasing budget and we're trying to spend money. We're perhaps entering into contracts late and then we're turning up wanting carry forwards. So the next 3 months, for me, are the most important part of the year in terms of spend, committing to budgets. That's point number one. The second thing I'd like to draw your attention to is on that very first table, operating statement, the very first line there, rates. That rates figure represents the rate strike or all the invoices that have been sent out to our community, our ratepayers. It does not reflect the cash that we're getting in, Now, I report that separately and I have received the December year-to-date figures and they're not good. They're quite a long way off what they were last year. And when I model that through and just assume that the trend continues to the end of the year and I've got to do a provision for the uncollectability, it's about $400,000 more than what's budget. That's at December. I'd say halfway through, and December's a yucky month because other things, other priorities in cash. My suggestion as a proposal, Chair, is that it might be time to invite a rates collection manager, the whangarei rates lady, Alison Pouchot, had a lot of experience in this area. Invite her to a council meeting. Let's listen to what she's got to say. What things getting better? Does she see things getting better by the end of the year? What levers can they pull to make things better? Are they pulling them? But the one for me would be asking, and I'll preempt her if you want me to, is to say, look, we're going to look at a zero rate increase. Will that provide a bit of capacity to the community so they can start paying their arrear rates back? And I don't know the answer, but I just wonder if it is a chance to invite in person. Let's listen to what she's experiencing. Let's hear if the things are slowly getting worse or are they looking to pick up, and let's ask, with a 0% increase or rate increase, does she think that will help collect arrears? And then that 400,000 doesn't become so large. We can reduce that. But I just thought we're at that position now.
My initial response is that I thought the report provided previously around the rate uptake was on a par with previous years' collection rates.
Slightly under. That was
Slightly
the
under.
first quarter, yep. And I am only reporting quarter two, but I'm saying we are getting into that position where, like if I trade it through or pro rata it out, it's 400,000. And the second quarter is a horrible quarter because of Christmas. But yeah, just a thought. I thought you could actually hear from the horse's mouth what's happening out there. Is it the depressed employment market? Is it cost of living? What's happening?
Yes, sir.
Let's start. On the weekend, I went to the Airport show. I did a module there. Quite noticeable. Less people there. Money. But that's only a small show. I look at a lot of my colleagues now whose farms are sold now in pine trees. I'm still shooting beef. I'm employing a lot of people. So I'm still operating and employing people in our community where a large section of land now is planted pine trees. And they're planted now, so that they did employ people, but that's probably going to spill out into our economy. Those jobs, those people aren't getting paid. On the top side, that pasture, dairy, forestry is probably humming along okay. Out there, things are going quite well, but it's not probably coming back into the city of Whangarei. So, yeah, if you had a good picture of that, that's the part I know. Yeah, it's looking good. Production's up. The best season we've had on record with growing grass. Wool's gone up. Lamb is now $11 a kilo, so we probably can't afford to eat it. Beef's not far behind. So actually things are looking good from that sector. But that sector is smaller than what it used to be.
If I can just add to that, so the collection of the rates that weren't paid previous years and the collection of rates this year for every district, they're behind what they were last year, except for KDC's current year collection, which is a little bit higher. Everyone's behind except the one little sector there in Kaipara.
Do we understand the demographic of who is behind, if there is a trending group that's behind?
No, I don't, but that would be one of the questions I would ask each collections manager.
Okay.
That's why I thought if we got Alison in here as a start, I don't want all three of them, but
They're your mates.
No, be one of the questions,
So what's the percentage? So you've provided us with a report that these are billable rates revenue.
Yep.
What's the percentage of that billable rates revenue you're predicting that is uncollectible at this present time? Because that gives me a better number when I'm looking at the bottom line.
Yeah. So for the first two quarters, it's 50% overall we've collected.
Yeah.
And last year overall it was 50.6. For the full year, the projection was 94, and it looks like I'm going to be coming in at 91, 92. Unless things pick up.
Are we assessing sort of the overall performance and budget relative, I guess the actual performance relative to budget across all asset classes?
Expected income.
Yeah. I think the greatest risk we've got is the performance of our managed funds. And the reason for that is, this is what I did in a former life, but the S&P is up over 67% in the last 3 years. We've had a really good run with our mutual funds. I note that we are 70% in non-income assets. So we do have a fairly aggressive portfolio. And if there's a material correction in the markets, and there hasn't been one for a long time, are you familiar with the term mean reversion? You know what mean reversion means? Okay, so mean is a mathematical term for average. The markets always mean revert. And I expect that to happen in the equity markets. So I think by far our greatest risk is the performance of our managed funds. And there are tools available. We can neutralise our exposure. Are we allowed to use derivatives? Sure. Okay, so we could take put options out on the indices.
Yep.
So we could lock our gains in on Simon, you're familiar with that. Yep. Are we allowed to use them or not? So I think the target for our managed funds is aggressive and unlikely to be met, especially given the losses that we've incurred on Federation. So I think our biggest risk is the performance of our managed funds, and we could have a significant correction in those. The world is not exactly a stable and friendly place. And our friend in America seems to be doing some interesting things. So I think that's where our greatest risk is.
Oh, thank you, Chair. 3 points. I really agree with John Hunt on the managed funds. I didn't comment on it earlier, but the sooner we can get on top of that, the better. I hear what Simon is saying about the next 3 months being critical, and really sticking to our knitting in terms of our application to the next 3 months, notwithstanding the longer term, of course. And then in terms of getting Alison, I think is the name, in to talk with the council, I total all that. Anybody who can cast a light on what we're doing here as a council, particularly in regard to rates, is welcomed as far as I'm concerned, because I live in a bubble. Thank you.
I get what you're saying in terms of Alison, but I agree with Councillor Hunt. The larger effect on us is our managed funds. And so we need to have a strategy from management on how we're going to, we discussed this earlier, right? On how we're going to make that material change to what we have, and we'll leave it to the investment committee to make the key better decisions. I think also in here, one of the key things is, and we talk about the savings as salaries, and we've spoken about it probably for a good 6 months now, which is great, and maybe not great, because does it affect your operations? Is it about time we reforecast some of that, because it's, you know, it's $1 million worth of savings, and is it true savings, or is it just people who haven't taken up the jobs, and should we start cancelling out jobs so that we actually can, you know, I'm just putting it there because it's a fair point that we've got $1 million of underspend just based on staff salaries. Is it something to consider?
First, then we'll come back to you, please.
2 points that if I can just respond to quickly. The point that Councillor Hunt highlights, I think there should be a paper for our investment committee on the 2nd of March. So around our exposure within our investment portfolios, and we can get Russells to support us and what our defensive strategy could look like. The point that you've just raised, Deanne, around our surplus, and particularly around the salary part, there's a couple of responses there. One, we've always got turnover, and you know, lots of the surplus there isn't that we've got rid of staff or roles. It's just that's the process of two things drive it. One is staff turnover, and sometimes it can be challenging to fill roles. And in that situation, we've got two things we need to keep an eye on: is how are we continuing to deliver the mihi that we're supposed to be delivering when we've got staff down, and our managers do their best to manage that, to continue to hit our KPIs by reallocating staff resources there to make sure we don't drop the ball in that situation. Sometimes also we might get external grant funding that fills a gap that we, for a temporary period, we don't need to recruit for that person. We also take into account our salary underspends by and with audit and Deloitte support by under budgeting for our salary positions. So we've got an under budget of what percentage? 2.9?
2.7.
2.7%.
Deferred start on any new recruitment. We only take 10 months of their budget into the first year. Maybe we need to up those.
Yes. So one of the things is through our next LTP process is our 2.7% overly cautious. The other thing I'd put on the table though is, as a council, we also rely on $1 million underspend every year, because we when we go and do our rate, we specifically rate for being able to use that salary surplus at the end of each year to pay for the following year's worth of $1 million worth of expenditure. If that makes sense, that's our and council started this about 2 or 3 years ago, where we specifically saw the surplus. Rather than it just going back into the coffers, we provided the savings and rates of $1 million, but that means each year we've got to have $1 million worth of surplus for that approach to be able to be maintained. So we we have to have $1 million surplus, otherwise we're short. We do have a reserve fund that allows us to do that. So if any 1 year we don't have $1 million underspend, we can draw on that reserve fund for 1 year. But yeah, we do rely on that, acknowledging that we're a $90-odd million business, and you're always hopefully going to have a surplus, not an overspend. But that's how we've built it into our system as well.
Well, I personally would reclassify that as working capital as opposed to surplus and savings if you're doing it for a purpose of salary, so ring fencing. And I think the language is important because you look at that. So if the naked eye look at that, let's say surplus, that means we're above, budget and it looks good. Council's making money. So languaging is important for the layman eye. Get what you're doing, understand what you're doing, understand that. But, from my perspective, what you've explained to me is that you've put a buffer of working capital away. That's what it looks like. And then that's saving you for the following year, which is fine. It's absolutely fine. I totally agree on it. However, the language is important.
And maybe we need to explain that better in our reports as to how we rely on that, that for working capital for the following year. Sorry, my last point was support Simon's suggestion as well about getting, and we've done it in the past when rates collection looks like it's not trending in the right position. My only question, Simon, was your proposal only to invite the WDC rep, or were you proposing one from each of our rate collecting councils?
Just proposing one, and I thought the easiest and most experienced person to come would be council.
And can I just ask a supplementary?
Yes.
Is Whangarei District the worst performing for rates payments? Because
That's just a question. Come on.
we should be targeting the council that is the most.
Far north.
I know the answer to
It's out again.
I'm trying to ask the question without saying
In terms of trending downwards, Whangarei is pretty bad.
it is pretty bad.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
They're experiencing
So
it.
that should just lead. Bottom margin.
Yeah, they're down, man. They're down 55%, down to 54. Big top.
My suggestion, Chair, would be write to all of them for an explanation and details. But yes, if the committees agree, and invite the WDC.
For sure.
A short question, is it our recommendation to the council to receive presentation from a third party?
I think you can
That's not
provide.
the normal process, is it? Or is someone you suggest she comes to talk to us?
No, I was just suggesting she comes to council and support
Council,
the paper.
it's not really our recommendation, is it, to council?
I think you can make that. You can recommend to council that there is a concern about increased non-payment of rates, and that you should seek some clarification from Whangarei District Council, and then we can go and.
John, how does the rates assistance scheme that we saw that had presented to us just recently, how does that factor into this?
Well, not yet,
Yeah.
but if that scheme came into play, yes, that would hopefully be supporting and assisting ratepayers to continue to pay their rates. So addressing the situation that we're talking about, that's part of the rationale for that scheme.
Is that the way in there? You'd look at that rates assistance scheme as being subject to, or the leverage.
We had this presented to us at the council.
That's a future scheme. It's not one that's available at the moment. It's actually the topic of an agenda item for tomorrow's council meeting. But I think it's totally within the auspice of this committee to provide a recommendation to council along the lines that has been suggested here.
I think there's two recommendations. One is to have an expert that's going to come in and give advice to the councillors on reclaiming rates. But the other recommendation I would give is what we talked about earlier, is around the review of our managed funds and how might we liquidate or change or redirect that. Yeah.
So on that point, I've got a defensive strategy type principles thing, and then in terms of our short-term game plan, remember we are intending to withdraw our general funding requirement out in March, should we have the gains there to do so. So we'll be de-risking putting in term deposits, not spending, into term deposits in March if the gains are there. So we'll be taking the cream off the table and protecting them at least. But I get your point. Let's get Russell to give us an overarching strategy, long-term strategy on how we de-risk.
Market's always correct, and we haven't had a meaningful correction for a long time.
Yeah, so.
And if the timing is bad, it could materially affect our performance.
Yep.
Two recommendations then. First one, I'll recommend to the council the inclusion of a rate specialist. To inform the council of projected income losses or risks to income. The second recommendation is adopt a defensive strategy in respect of our private equity exposure. Is that fine with you, John?
And look, I think we've also got significant growth assets too, so which are more aggressive than income assets. Would that be fair to say, Simon? So I think 70% of our managed funds would be deemed to be aggressive.
So not just private equity.
I think
a strong
growth assets. I think
Managed funds in total.
I just feel like we've made good gains in the last few years. It'd be nice to bank them, and they're not going to continue indefinitely.
Very nice. If Jane, if they're legible and tell them.
Audit Committee recommend that council hears and receives a presentation from a rate specialist. Can you confirm the last part of that sentence?
In order to assess future income. Current
Impact on future rating
impact
income.
on.
Second was to the Audit and Risk Committee recommend that council adopts a defensive strategy in regards to resources.
In regards to our managed funds.
No, not adopts. It is that we ask for a defensive strategy first because we can't adopt it. We don't have it. And then it's presented to. I think this is the investment committee. Yeah.
So we request a defensive strategy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Be presented to the IC. Yes.
Yeah.
And that defensive strategy can be you liquidate shares.
Yes.
Or you neutralise your exposure to the equity markets through derivatives. And I'm not sure if we're allowed to use derivatives.
Simon said we are.
Okay, Simon can do the finer detail, but that's two parts. And that last one again, please.
Simon was going to help with.
Oh, Simon will tidy it up. Is that right? Oh, no. And I would just revisit this. You can do the finer detail about the ingredients that John is.
Prepare a proposed defensive strategy in respect to our externally managed fund portfolio and present it to the next
Investment committee, which is the 3rd of March. Stroke pretty tight.
present to the investment committee at the earliest available time.
But at least we can include something on the agenda for the investment committee highlighting the issue and the fact that we need to do it. You don't have to have the defensive strategies done by the 3rd of March.
All right, let's just stop right there. Yeah. Simon, last chance. What's the wording that we're going to put, please?
Maybe prepare and present a defensive strategy in respect to our externally managed fund portfolio.
Yep.
To the next available investment committee.
So just to be
maybe we need like an exec summary or some discussion point.
Just to be clear, because this committee can't tell that committee what to do. This committee, though, can highlight an issue and make a recommendation to that committee. So if you give me a second, I can draft something, but it's a recommendation from this committee to the investment committee that a defensive strategy for our externally managed funds is developed, full stop.
Yeah, I was thinking more that we recommend it to the council.
Yeah, it's actually to the councillors in our terms of reference.
Council directs the investment committee to be
it would be to council
cognizant of the risk environment, which is, seeing gold prices go through the bloody roof. Not since it's a recommendation to council.
Unfortunately, still in our TOO, which is online, for us, it actually does say that we are to make investment decisions with subcommittee delegation, which, yeah, it's still sitting in the TOR. We haven't got a new one in there yet, but it also recommends that we recommend to councillors what the best way to mitigate the risk, because we're here to mitigate risk. We're not going to tell the investment committee that they need to take $1 out of here and $10 out of here, but we're asking for a risk mitigation plan, and that's what we are something to do. And so if you don't think we should give it to the investment committee, then we're going to give it to the councillors as a standing item in the council, because I think everyone needs to be aware there's a very large risk to us at the moment. And I agree with Councillor Hunt. Our markets are very unstable. I've been watching them for the last 3 days very intensely, and the US market is trending everything down. And the only one that looks good to us is Australia, but at the moment. So I think we've got to be really mindful, and we would not be doing our due diligence or fiduciary duty if we're not informing councillors around this.
Sound like you want to move it, Deanne?
I move it.
Thank you. Second, Councillor Hunt. Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Any against? Abstentions? No. So let's note that somehow.
Sorry, someone, we're just giving you more work.
Yes, Australia. What's the first part? What's the rate specialist?
I think rates collection specialist is the better word, because it's collections. Yes. It's not rates.
Yeah, ENW. Thank you. 11:45. Still got a lot to get through. Anything further to report? No, Simon says good. Look, we've canvassed quite a wide range of stuff on there. I don't see anything more within that report that we need to consider. Got the main items. We'll move then, please, to item 6.4, the regulatory services quarterly reports. And note, do we have any conflicts of interest to declare with the extensive ingredients in Colin's report? Let councillors think about members thinking that for a minute, but we ask you please, Colin, come and deliver your report. Thank you.
You want me to sit up or stay back here?
Come forward, please.
Like the name, Whispering Pines Limited.
So you do the introduction, then we'll get it received, and then we'll go into the gist of it, please.
Yes, your koutou councillors. Just I appreciate there's a lot of information in the report, because of course we missed out on a audit and risk committee meeting at the end of last year. I note there's a typo in the last columns of the first two tables and consents. It should be totals for 2025, 2026. So that's just a couple, and we've obviously dropped a couple of zeros in the last column as well of that first table. Other than that, yeah, I think, as you can see, there's a lot in there, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, well, let's go to the first recommendation then, please, is to receive the report. Do we have a mover? Thank you, John. And person second? Thank you, Toss. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? No, the motion is carried. We now move to the report in its body, and any taken as read. Any members' comments or questions for the author, please?
I do know quite a few people on this report.
Overall.
I don't think I've got a conflict.
I actually have a question just in the totality of the work that you do, please, Colin. And I don't want to come back to the working fund question that John had just elaborated in the previous section with the salaries, but it seems like there's an awful amount of work here. I mean, I think about where we started this morning with Joe's question around efficiency. One of those, of course, is watching and monitoring, consenting. That's a big piece of work. You know, do you have a comment to make about how your team copes? And this is not to say that John is in any way, but you know, it seems to me that you're doing an awful amount of work in this respect. This is not the first report that you provided. It's huge.
Well, actually, I appreciate the comment and recognition that we do a lot of work, particularly in the consenting side. We've always operated on a mixed model. So we've got quite a lean cadre of staff, consent processing staff, and we rely on using external consultants to manage our peak workloads.
Oh, okay.
So that's how we can manage or keep a very good performance level in terms of processing consents on time. But yes, it's always a challenge, but we seem to, we've got a very experienced sort of senior staff in the consents team as well, and that's a great help. So we do keep on top of things.
Okay, well, thanks for that explanation. Give me some comfort. Yes, Joe.
Yeah, I've got a question to ask. It's on page 66, AP 02417 FNDC Koutou wastewater treatment plant. As a local, I know various people have actually asked the council for information about what's going on with the koutou wastewater treatment plant. Koutou has got significant housing going on, like Ngāpuri housing. There's some massive projects. There's pipes being laid all through the town, and currently it's got one destination. It's a koutou wastewater treatment plant, which is a pretty dismal sort of setup. And no one can find out from the council. And in fact, councillors have been required to do official information requests to get information. And I'd just like a little thumbnail sketch of what's going on. And I'd like to compare it with Kerry Kerry, when they rebuilt their wastewater treatment plant, the day it was built was under capacity, 3,000 cubic metres a day. And you can't even meet the needs of that community. And I just wonder how big a global look we have at it, because that scheme there was quite an emasculator, or whatever they call them, a masquerader, at each property. And it turned out that top ends, you didn't have the power supply to run such a load. And I just wonder what sort of practical overview for these schemes is taking place. And I've got to declare an interest, because I live, or I farm
Downstream,
some almost 40 k's away, where the mangroves are sort of causing massive erosion because of the high levels of fertility in the Waima River, and we don't fish there and we don't swim there anymore, and so we'd like some changes. I just wondered if you could just briefly explain to us that where this proposed consent is up to. And, you know, the obvious question is it going to have the capacity to meet the future demands in koutou? And are we going to have adequate sanitation and nutrient removal in the discharges, so that we can have a reasonable life downstream? Yeah, I don't know. I can't get it from the Far North District Council. I've actually tried to ask councillors, and we just can't get that information spontaneously. And I don't really want to get into a sort of a litigious way. I'm not a submitter, so I can't really.
So the answer to the first question, Councillor, is that their consent's about to be granted.
Yeah.
Now, so the second one, and it's my understanding that they have built in or factored in some increased, if you like, wastewater flows because of the development in the area. Because I think you've recently seen that is it the Bissett Road subdivisions received additional government funding, and part of that's particularly for infrastructure. But I'm happy to sort of go away and just confirm what's in the application in terms of that accounting for future capacity.
And is it going to be logged for disinfection?
That I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Because that was the consent granted in about 2000. That was what do you call it? The variation was sought, and that was scrubbed. And I just wondered whether we're actually going to have an expected standard. That the community is amazing. The lack of knowledge amongst elected representatives about what's going on. They're worrying about Rawene and they don't realise that probably 20 times the volumes are coming out of Kaikoura and more than that. It's just amazing. Yeah.
They did get that grant from the Infrastructure Acceleration Fund several years ago. I know,
which hasn't been spent.
Hasn't been spent. Well, I hope that would be the input because it was to cope with the increased housing prospects for Kaikoura.
I, as I said, I can go away and
I'd appreciate that.
In response to some of
Try
that.
to take up committee time.
Sorry, through the chair, page 67, Colin. I'm just declaring conflict of interest, i.e. being the CEO of the area, and that's the hapu that's doing a opposition application.
The Jade?
Yeah, Carrington Jade.
Hapu iwi.
Well, on the iwi and the Hautitau Marangai 339 Trust is the hapu. Yeah, just declaring it. Because we've taken them to court before, the iwi, yes.
Any other questions? Please, John.
Colin, I saw some correspondence between Peter and Jono about the groin and Mangawhai.
Yes.
You've been party to that?
Yes, I have.
And have we agreed on ownership of the groin?
We've currently,
or responsibility?
We're currently just getting our ducks in a row in terms of the process.
Yeah.
I indicated that we'll get back on that. It's basically, without preempting the final thing, there is a process to go through, but at this stage, there is no owner.
Yeah.
And it might.
When it was built?
Yes, in the 1860s.
Yeah, that's right. So it just started. Theory, right?
And it was actually built by a group rather than individuals, and that group's well and truly disappeared.
Yeah.
So there is no owner of current owner of the structure.
And I guess the issue is now that if you get a nor'easterly storm, a lot of sand is sweeping over the groin into the estuary, which makes the Harbour Restoration Society's job a little more challenging.
Yes. Yes. So we're aware of that issue, and we're doing some finding out what the due process.
Great. Thanks, Colin.
Just to clarify, and John, I'll forward you an email that Ruben sent to Peter. The advice is being that, sorry, I'm just quickly speed reading it, is that the owner is a Crown entity because of lack of ownership.
Yep.
And we're just needing to go through a process to confirm which Crown entity. In the email, it says it's most likely DOC, where the Crown says you're the owner of it. I'll forward you this email chain though now.
Thank you.
It's interesting and DOC are getting rid of anything.
Well, that comment and that comes under a separate act. And the reality is that 160 years, that process is more about abandoning structures and getting rid of them. But I don't think that's what the society want. They actually want to do, obviously.
Well, I think they want to remediate it.
So it's interesting little dilemma that it's not quite change legislation. Anyways, as just to round up, we are.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. Any further questions?
It's got one.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
yes.
Be careful. I get a lot of people ringing me up about this report, and just be careful when you hear from a person with a problem that probably going to get half the story. Thank you. Just be careful.
Yes. And my only comment is, where's Muki Muki Bay? Never heard of it.
What
Is there a typo in there?
Page 70. No, it's I don't know all the bays, but I've never heard of Muki Muki Bay in the Bay of
Okay.
Islands. Wouldn't even know what it means.
Sorry, you said page 70?
Yes, it doesn't say it's an application there for a non-swing mooring.
Sorry,
It's just a note.
It's not 70.
not 70.
Thank you, George.
Page 70. Page you are. Anyway, that's not just the debate. We've got to move on because Colin, you've got the next report to 6.5 litigation report.
Oh, no, that's in committee chair.
Sure.
Okay, good. What's next then, please, Jane?
Summary.
Insurance summary. Carol? Thank you, Colin.
This paper just introduces the insurance renewal for current year and represents a 8% decrease premiums for the year ahead, reflecting the current market.
Then we'll move to receive the report, please. Thank you, Councillor Carr.
Be seconded.
Seconded, Councillor Blackwell. Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Anybody against? Abstentions have been recorded. Unanimous, the motion is carried. Back to you, please, Carol.
Take the that's read. Take any questions?
No, well, there's nothing there.
It's a good news story.
Nothing from me. Steve, you're all right?
Yes, thanks, Chair. No questions. Nice to have a reduction.
Unusual.
Yes, sir.
I think there are a few changes. I can't quite read it, so small. But we did decide to take a bit more risk, didn't we? So insurance came down.
Yes, we moved out of risk pool and we did think that, something we weren't going to cover.
It's unusual for insurance to go down.
If you read in the bullet points through it talks about where the decreases are.
Yeah, that's good.
We changed the value proposition on it, which was the recommendation from the councillors to operations, which gave you the larger point of decrease from market value rather than replacement value.
Yes.
And there were other recommendations that we did make that made a material difference. And so thank you for adopting them.
I'll pay that on behalf of Bruce.
Yeah.
I'll pass that on.
Okay, let's move along then, please. Item 6.7, Mandy. The internal audit schedule.
It's 0.6.
Well, afternoon. This audit schedule is just a update from our previous meeting showing what's been completed and what's planned for the first half of 2026.
Thank you. Do we have a mover to receive the report then, please?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Deanne. And the person second. Dina. Thank you, Councillor Carr. All those in favour? Receiving the report. Thank you. Anybody against? Abstentions to be? Well, none. The motion is carried. Moving to
6.6, wasn't it?
probably got an old version. I had 6.5, which has moved to, which is the litigation schedule. Now I'm on 6.7, so. But the one from last week, I haven't updated it.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, have a break.
Yep. Thank you. So for the latest reports, let's just get that clarified. Which section are we up to, please? Carol? Has anybody else got 6.7?
I have. Because it's not an, I haven't got it in Stella, it won't let me go into Stella on it.
Yeah, I haven't had a look for a week or so. All right, that's the internal audit schedule. Let's stick with that. That's a good point. Thanks, John. Any items that people would like to have questions for Mandy and her team?
Mandy, on page 89, I think we've got a review for risk appetite criteria organised for March this year. Do you think that's still on? It kind of talks to what we were talking about before with our fund management around reviewing our appetite for risk. It just sequences quite nicely, and then we're still on track with that. Oh, page 89, you've got a little pink line there. We did defer it until this year.
Yes, the pending consultancy, our consultants availability.
Okay. Maybe, because we're like 2 weeks away. I'm okay if it's not, because I'm just saying it would seem nicely into the review of the fund management with Simon and the team. Yeah, okay.
Any further items for discussion on the report? Yes, John.
Which report are we on? Risk management.
The internal audit. So there was in March, it scheduled the appetite for risk as a review. Again, there was something in the Deloitte's report around the scheduling of those review sequences. And I again, I don't really know. It seemed to me to be quite a logical sequence to what you've structured the amendings. If Deloitte's got something else about that, I'll be interested to hear what they would have to say. No further commentary? Okay, we're coming at 12:05. We've got another meeting at 12:30. We've got some items, quite a few items still to get through, including the business with the public excluded. Jane, what do you recommend?
Chair, just a suggestion. I wonder if we keep going with this meeting. We're likely to run pretty close to 12:30. I wonder if we can finish it though before 12:30, then the infrastructure committee can open. You can adjourn quickly so that people can take a comfort stop, grab some lunch, and then you can continue with the investment committee if you've got the chair.
Committee's a working party anyway.
Not the investment, the infrastructure.
Yeah, it's not a formal meeting, is it?
No, workshop.
So it's workshop.
Oh, it's a workshop.
So
you don't even have to adjourn.
Lots of space.
All right, yeah, we'll just crank on then. Okay, item 6.8, risk management activity update. And again.
This report is completed with GMs, providing updates through the new waypoint system and producing the waypoint new mapping, I suppose, or strategic dashboard reporting as attached.
Okay, do we have a mover then, please, to receive the report?
Move.
Thank you, Jean, again. And a person to second.
I'll have it seconded.
Thank you, Councillor Blackwell. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Any abstentions? Okay, Mandy, would you take us through then? And assume it has read. Any parts you'd like to highlight for us? The waypoint sounds like a significant piece of software that would be of great help to you.
Our new risk register system. We are able to have project, program, operational and strategic risks captured in there.
Good Chair. I
Yes, please, Louisa.
wanted to talk just briefly about the flood infrastructure risk that's in there. The reason we just wanted to highlight to you that that risk is trending up at the moment. It's around flood infrastructure failure. The reason for that is our asset management system. We recently undertook a asset management maturity assessment as guided by the asset management SIG group, which you heard about from Te Unu Kahika last week. Effectively, the reason we're immature is because we don't have a modern tool to do asset management. It's not because we don't have asset management plans. It's not because we don't have systems and processes in place. We do, but they're all paper-based at the moment, rather than actually having a software tool that sends you work notifications and that sort of thing. So what we've done is we've reviewed the risk, and based on our immaturity of our asset management systems, we've put the risk trending up. We have an asset management systems and processes improvement plan in place, which includes the introduction of a new software tool, Universe, which will be coming in by the 30th of June. And once that's been rolled out and is in place, then the risk should return back to its original state of where we are. But we'll do another review at that time.
Yeah, through you, Chair. I was just wondering, like say with the Awanui, we've got 100-year plus climate change is the level of protection through the town. It's quite likely at some stage we're going to get inundated, probably well within 100 years. Is that considered a failure? Or is a failure when we actually have material damage to the stock bank because of the overtopping?
Or it's not an overtopping. So we provided to deliver a level of service, which is 100-year plus climate change at the moment. If in a 100-year event our stock banks fail, as in they burst open, then that's what this is addressing.
Thank you.
It's interesting, yeah. Software becomes the risk eliminator in a physical situation, and everybody's applauding, and it's going to show great results.
Well, it's just one tool of the other
mitigations,
but it will be a real game changer for us.
Yeah.
So, can I just follow with one question related to it? In the event we do get an overtopping, how do we describe the risk of evacuating that water out of that system? Because it relies on the Far North District Council's floodgates and stormwater drainage system. We're sitting in the pond there. They're quite small pipes out. Big flow can come in. It might be quite slow to come out. And I just wondered who owns the problem?
It's the back of my house.
I'm not clear. And then who owns the problem of getting rid of the water, or?
Yes. Once we filled the bowl up.
That then becomes a stormwater management issue.
Yeah. Well, it is, but it's how long is it going to sit there for? How long it's going to take for it to get out?
I can't answer those questions.
Yeah.
Would be.
So maybe we could answer that at the River Liaison Committee.
It's certainly in discussions. We can have 3 councils around that sort of scenario, because it involves stormwater modelling, which is something that the district councils would normally undertake.
Yeah.
In our current setup, to be able to understand how to get rid of the water in the quickest possible way.
Thank you.
Just on that, just an observation on Friday. We had a big downpour in Katoa, probably 40 mils within 2 hours or whatever. And the council stormwater, I can see big issues here. I really can. Yeah. However, that's just future. We'll talk about that at the appropriate committees and that. But
Most of it landed on my house.
just
The block and said, oh, it's a cat to the mummy. It must have been a big one. No, it was all the bottom floor was flooded.
Going through the chair, really what you have done in terms of the adoption. Just slightly concerned about workload again and health and safety, very high still there. And I see, well, it's page 95, sorry. Is there mitigations in place to reduce the impact on workload? Johnny, you spoke about it, but the health and safety mechanisms are still at high risk, if I'm reading it right. Am I reading it right?
This was discussed with all departments, and the workload for strategic is related to what measures are we putting in place to manage workloads. It's timesheet monitoring, managers being more aware of workloads across the teams, things like that.
Okay. And the H&S?
Waypoint.
The H&S, it's got quite a heavy rating on it. Health and safety, non-compliance.
If I can perhaps respond to that one. In terms of health and safety, there's been a current vacancy that's been unable to be filled, and I believe it's just about to be filled, which has been one of the reasons that there's a little lag in some action that's been.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. Right. And if I note too, through the chair, we just spoke about fund management and it rates lower than health and safety. Hang on, I'm just going to try and find it. And investment portfolio financial risk, it's only at 15, which I think probably in this case we probably need to review that maybe with Simon and ask them whether or not that's an actual with just what's recently occurred. Review that.
Yeah, definitely review that, and I think there's probably a timing.
Sure.
Be reported retrospectively. That has occurred more recently. But we can ask this for that.
Thank you.
The residuals, not much different.
No, but.
And loads to put life before, cash before life, so. Yeah. Any further? Commentary, yes, please, John.
I just, when I heard about the flood mitigation work we do, if it fails and it fills up with water, we can't get rid of it. Are we suable? Because we actually made the problem worse than what it was before if it wasn't there. So that's a question I've got. There'll be a few cases where that could happen. Anyway, but that wasn't really my question. I was going back to page 77. And I want to talk about Madagascar ragwort.
Yes, please.
A risk to rural economy, and I sort of wonder about the rural economy because this is such a big thing. I would have thought it would be the New Zealand economy. Good to see the work's going on. But on the notes, the last point says no control has been put in place. I sort of feel that London's burning as we sit here. And I should know when I'm buying cattle that are they coming off that farm? And if they are, I should be advised to do certain things to mitigate the problems coming on my property. I don't think anything like that is happening. When I talk to some of those farms, they say, oh, no, it's not coming off there. This is coming off there. Oh, do I really know? You know, so I worry about that. But we need to do more about it and support the funding got going towards it.
Just quickly, if I can, Chair, the risk probably still should stay as it is, but as councillors know, we are doing what we can within the space. Whether it's going to have a material impact on it, I guess, is questionable. Council has allocated $250,000 and we've got another $50,000 from MPI, and we're undertaking a number of initiatives such as awareness raising, delineation of where it is, starting the first part of looking at biocontrols, commencing a process with, I think it was the EPA, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, around getting a chemical mix that can actually be used and label confirmation that it can be used to to spray the weeds. So we are doing things there. We're also coming back in early March. We did a business case that proposed $10 million response over a 4 or 5 year period. There's a workshop coming back to council in early March after we've engaged further with sector representatives, with the proposal that that be split between between local government, Beef and Lamb, Dairy in New Zealand, Pāmu Farms and MPI, when we'll be bringing a proposal back in early March around what that funding split looks like, so that we can step up our response in the Madagascar rag war space. Just as an update for the committee.
I note the reference to Taikie. In the interest of time, I think I'll just talk to the CE and try to fully understand that one. It's page 83.
Alice.
It's about the obligations under Taikie. You have to cover on it. Please. Okay. Any further comments? The report? There being none, then we'll move then please to item 6.8, board corruption and dishonesty public update on page. That's right, 89. 105. Thank you, Carol.
Just tabling the court corruption and dishonesty report for the quarter we received.
Okay, do we have a mover, please, to receive the report?
Yes.
Councillor Kitchen and seconded Councillor Member Watnet. Thank you. Carol?
No further information to provide. Happy to take any questions. Direct them to Mandy if there's any questions.
Seriously, we like that.
Yeah, that sounds like it. Mandy, what's the it's just probably misreading it. What's the fraud, corruption, and dishonesty classification?
Sorry?
Fraud, corruption, and dishonesty classification. What does it mean?
It's the risk rating. So you're talking about the graph? Yes, it's the risk ratings that we have on there. Okay. The initial, inherent, and then the residual once the controls are in place.
Yeah, it's got to remind us, fraud is extremely difficult to detect. And even when there are discrepancies detected, it's a very high level of evidence required for proof before it's actually been conducted. So, luck in that field, maybe.
Chair, if I could just add, from a financial fraud perspective, Simon's done some great work in implementing an additional control around trying to manage the risk of fraudulent payments. So that's introduction of a new piece of software that works with every payment run. So that's an additional mitigation that we've recently implemented to manage risk of financial fraud.
Yeah. I see those residuals are all low, and Deloitte's found nothing in their report as well too. So again, recommendations to the internal team, what you can to keep us all nice and shiny. That's us. Okay, we've got 12:24. Move down to business with the public